Hey everybody, welcome back to Pomerium Live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today I'm hanging out with Tejas Kumar. Tejas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Really appreciate you taking the time to hang with me today. I know you got a lot on the go. I'll be dropping some links to all the places you are and stuff. But kind of first off, I know you do a lot in the AI space, but just in the developer community in general. And like I've always been a big fan of your podcast, which I think is it 2 years now you've been doing the podcast,
Oh, a year and a
or
half. Yeah, year and a
year
half.
and a half? Okay, yeah. So that's one of my go-tos when I go for walks in the evenings. And you've obviously done just all kinds of other stuff through React, AI, and all that. For folks who might not know who you are, which I feel like is not that many people, do you mind giving, I guess, just kind of like a TLDR of I guess what you're up to these days, and I guess if you want to, how you kind of got into tech? You don't have to give like the 20-minute story or anything, but people are always like to hear about how people kind of got into things.
Sure, yeah. I'm Tejas. I have been building on the web for over 20 years, places like Vercel, Spotify, Zeta, and other places. And today I work on a product called Langflow. That's what we're here to talk about. And
Yeah.
it's really a tool designed to make AI democratized and accessible to as many people as possible, and to not code it in complexity, right? Like throughout the ages, things have been, especially valuable things, have been sort of gate kept. If you think about like medicine,
Yeah.
there's words like pulmonary embolism used, like when you could just be like, hey, there's a blood clot in your lungs. That's literally what it means. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much gatekeeping, and nowadays with AI, it's this like huge wave that's transforming humanity, and Langflow is an attempt to make that just as accessible as possible to a bunch of people. So the demos and stuff, we'll see how we do that practically, but that's what I'm up to today. And I got into tech through really in a really fantastic way. I have a disease that's very dangerous and fatal. I'm a bleeder, so I never stop bleeding internally or externally if I start. And people start bleeding
Hmm.
internally all the time from like waving. If this is going to cause like some type of bleeding inside.
Yeah.
But because of that, I couldn't do a bunch of stuff. I never really went to school to attend classes or things that most children do growing up. I just never did. I just at home all
Okay.
day, very sheltered with nothing to do. But we had a computer at home, and so a
Okay.
lot of what I would do is just play games. And at some point, I go like, how do they make these? And so I'd learn that. And eventually, I found DeviantArt.com, and
Okay.
these glass tux penguins. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If you're watching the stream and you know what I'm talking about, let us know in the comments. But it's these like penguin things that you make that are super shiny, similar to
Okay.
Apple's Aqua UI back in the day. And so I got into Photoshop and making like beautiful
Okay.
shiny objects. And then I was like, wait, you could just design websites here. And then in Photoshop, you have the slicing tool that would then break websites into like HTML tables that you can
Yeah.
then export to front page and do like, wow, cool, I made it. And so that was kind of the path. And I've literally just been writing and chasing that high ever since.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you're bringing flashbacks. I did some front page, the underscore private bin folder, FTPing. I did a lot. I did a lot of .NET and back in the day. And uh, TLDR, there's like the global assembly cache, this bin folder, and like you could restart your ASP.NET app whenever something got pushed to there. So I used to FTP random text files when I needed my change to update. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, no, that's cool how you got into things. Not cool that obviously being stuck at home, but you make do with what you have,
In
right?
retrospect, that was cool. That was very cool because if I had not been stuck at home, I wouldn't have the beautiful life that I've been given today. So, like, I know a bunch of kids who did regular kid things who are kind of losers and drug addicts today. So, I mean, like,
Y- y-
there's
Yeah.
definitely benefits.
No, for sure, for sure. But no, but that's super cool. Yeah. I kind of have, or well, not same origin, obviously, but I got into web dev early. I was never like, I don't know. I'll hear people sometimes say like, "Oh, I've been coding since I was 6," or like,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I'm a little older, so we had like a Commodore VIC-20, and like I used to do stuff that you would just do like print, your name and stuff, but it was never really any kind of hardcore programming, and it was only really once the web kind of exploded, like GeoCities and just writing web pages in Notepad, and then eventually like
Yeah.
Media or whatever. But yeah, no, okay, cool. And I mean, I guess kind of fast forward to today, you've obviously done a lot of web stuff, like I kind of alluded to. You were in, I would say you're probably still in the React ecosystem, but you're
Yeah.
obviously doing a lot of focus on AI right now. So
Mhm.
I guess what got you into AI, or kind of what brought you to data stacks, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but data stacks got acquired by IBM. Is that correct? Or
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what got me into AI? That's a great question. It's not so much what got me into AI as much as who got me into AI.
okay.
It was, I don't know if you've had him as a guest on your podcast, but if you haven't, I don't know how else to tell you, man. You're missing out. It was Vincent Reamer.
Okay.
Bro, Vincent is so cool. Like, I remember he used to do this thing where he must have had a very expensive GPU or something, but he was like generating cool images of various like tech conference speaker friends of mine, like Ken Wheeler and all these folks. And it was like
Yeah.
them as like the Terminator, And I was like, wow, the precision of this is so cool. And I was like, how is he generating these images? And so
Yeah.
that so Vincent led me down this path of like, oh, so there's this thing called stable diffusion, which is a model which you can then fine tune with something called Dream Booth, and
Okay.
I basically just like was super interested. I got into that, and I just wanted to create like cool images of myself in various configurations.
Okay.
I can even show you like, and so today, like I still do that. So I'm sharing my screen right here.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Here, let me bring that into the page here.
yeah, this is Replicate, replicate.com. Great way to fine tune models. And so I have a fine tune of myself here, where if I
Okay.
type in this word, which is just, you need some kind of weird word that helps the model identify you. And I'll go
Yeah.
like as the Terminator, portrait, 4K, dramatic. I don't really know what's going to come up, but I know it's going to be awesome. So it's
Yeah.
evolved many years later, but this is what I was doing like to get into AI, just like generating like random
Okay.
cool images of myself. And let's
Yeah.
see what happened. Oh wow, look at that.
Uh,
Um,
uh,
that's
that's pretty
that,
badass. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty
yeah,
badass.
cyborg. Let's say half metal. Anyway, so this kind of thing. And then I started doing it for my friends and my family, and I was like, wow, that's so awesome. And this was kind of
Yeah.
my journey into AI was through. Oh my goodness, look at
That's pretty badass too.
that.
So don't mess with Tejas, people.
That's right. Yeah, and so that was eventually how and then of course while I was like deep in this,
Mhm.
um, ChatGPT came out, GPT-3 like really early, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is. And so then of
Yeah.
course, I got into ChatGPT and all of this, but that was sort of step zero, and I
Okay.
was very early on the generative AI train, all the way to
Uh,
today, where I still tend to live close to the forefront of most things.
Okay, yeah. No, that's cool, and it's a fun way to, I guess, enter the field as well. Because like, who doesn't like making images and stuff? And I've been leveraging Sora a bit, because like we're doing work right now to secure MCP servers, and I I didn't release this as a video, but I got Sora to generate. I said like I just literally gave my headshot that's on my socials, and I said, do a kind of pun on, MCP isn't just an API wrapper, and it has me rapping, and I've got a gold chain that says API, and it was like there was a couple fails, like it gave me really short legs in a couple, but the final one, it actually looks real, like pretty realistic, and yeah, but yeah, no, okay, but that's cool. I mean, I don't know. Have you done any glass penguins that are Tejas as well?
I
Maybe.
did. Back in the day, the big thing used to be signature. The forums, first of all, were everywhere, right? And then on these
Yeah,
forums, we used to have these cool signatures. So I had like a stack of like beautiful glass signatures of things that I loved. Um, and honestly, I
yeah,
think we should go. We're kind of going back to that with liquid glass and so on from Apple. But
yeah,
that is the web that I love, And so
yeah. No, totally. And also just want to say hi to my buddy Yuri. How you doing, Yuri? Good to see you.
Yuri Schrumpflohner, what a guy!
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
NX has
yeah,
entered the chat. Nice.
yeah. NX representing. Good to see you, my man. Yeah, no, that's super cool. Yeah, I kind of got into AI through a place you're familiar with, open source.
Yeah.
So like, I think I mean, I was using ChatGPT when it came out, but then we had this whole AI initiative called Star Search, and my coworker, old coworker John, who I know you've had on the podcast, your podcast, he built pretty much the AI infrastructure there, but I was more just we were such a small team, so basically I built out the whole front end experience, and it was just, you know, this kind of ties into like becoming an AI engineer to some degree. Like I feel like at some point, AI engineer might just become software engineer again. But like, it's cool that there's a name for now. But it's really like it just feels more like just leveraging UI and APIs right now. But it's been super interesting lately because I've been doing similar stuff at work, but also like securing MCP servers, and I've got the OpenAI API responses API with like deep learning. Like I'm just kind of in there more now, and it's just really exciting time to be there, and all kinds of great tools, including Langflow. So that's my little segue to bring us to Langflow.
Awesome. Yeah, you said securing MCP servers multiple times.
Yeah.
How does that work? How does one secure an MCP server? I'm asking because also Langflow is an MCP server.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. So essentially, I think a lot of the MCP servers that are out right now are developer focused. People are just running them with standard IO on their local, probably. They might have some. I know you can run remote MCPs with like the MPX command. There's like a remote MCP package, but I feel like as devs, you're just kind of YOLO. It's on my local, no worries, kind of. And I was at the MCP Dev Summit a few weeks ago, and also got a chance to be at the AI World Fair this year. But there's been they added a security aspect to the MCP spec, so OAuth, which is definitely great. Um, you know, but it doesn't secure everything. That it just, this is like, what can you do? And like where I work, basically we're not an AI company, but we've been securing internal apps, like Kubernetes workloads, whatever. And it just fits really well with MCP because it's running at the layer 7, so like the HTTP level, because we're like a, not to get into it too much, but basically we're an identity aware proxy, and so like everything goes through there. And like two things that are top of mind with a lot of people in the AI space right now are observability as well as security. And so like when you're going through a proxy, and the MCP spec actually, the security spec says you should be going through a proxy. So that's one thing. So if it's zero trust, which is what an identity aware proxy is based off of, just fits really well there. And then from the security aspect, MCP clients, you're going to register your MCP server, whether that's Claude or Goose or whatever. And VS Code actually supports remote MCP too now, but you're going to go through that whole auth flow. And then like, say your MCP server is using GitHub. So it's going to do the OAuth flow, and then you get a token back, and then the MCP client will keep that token because it needs to pass it back and so on. There's a potential security risk there because you're basically giving the keys to your MCP client. So I can't say this for all identity aware proxies. I think we're the only one that secures MCP right now, but basically the tokens never go past they never come out of the proxy. So all you ever get back from Pomerium, which is the identity aware proxy, is you get the short-lived token, which is the JWT. That is basically your session in Pomerium. And then when you go back through to make a call from the MCP client, it knows to pull the correct tokens. And so like none of that stuff ever crosses that boundary. So there's like basically people in the security space that are familiar with zero trust, this makes sense a lot. It's a little difficult to explain sometimes, but like even at the AI World Fair, not everybody was. I feel, I don't want to say security isn't top of mind, but
Yeah.
I know being a web dev, a lot of devs are just like, I just want to build something, and security kind of is like, oh yeah, we'll do that, I guess, you know. So, but that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. And happy to dive deeper another day if you want, just because I definitely want to talk about Langflow. But I think what we're doing is pretty cool, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
sounds like it. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, all right. Let's talk about Langflow. In this case, the MCP server.
Okay.
I'm just gonna show and tell. So let me
Yeah.
quickly share my screen.
Perfect.
There will be infinity mirroring for a little bit because I am
That's
working
okay.
with
That's
one screen.
okay.
I actually prefer working with one screen because then I can work anywhere. I know some people who are like they can't work unless they have an external monitor. I never want to be this person. So let me show you my screen and let's go to
Good.
um,
Let's
this.
bring that
What you
in. Okay.
should be seeing is my terminal. And
Yeah.
Langflow is fully open source and free. There isn't a hosted Langflow that you can pay for.
Okay.
And someone might start that company. I don't really care. But this is how you run Langflow. Docker run, and you forward your ports. Langflow runs
Okay.
on 60, and you do Langflow AI. This is it. This is all you need to run Langflow. And
Oh,
because
that's
it's
wild.
yeah, because it's a container, it
Yeah.
can run anywhere. It can run, on my machine. I can just as easily get a server on EC2, Fargate, whatever it may be, on AWS, on Azure, on whatever, and just start it. Now, there's some warnings here. I've shared this feedback with the team. Honestly, it's probably because I'm using an older version. I've got to do Langflow like latest, and this I did report this and it's been fixed. But anyway, we started Langflow. Drop a GitHub star. And if we click on where it's open, we go to the browser. Um, and this is the first screen you see. Welcome to Langflow, GitHub and Discord. And
Okay.
what it is it's just a visual builder. So let's do a very basic flow. It's a visual builder for AI apps. And remember, I said the whole point of the game is to make things accessible to as many people as
Yeah.
possible. No gatekeeping. And so we'll just model a basic AI app. We have a chat input. We have a chat output. I mean, this is like every agent, every AI app, every
Yeah.
and we'll do an agent because Langflow is really the best way to build agents. And we can talk about what agents are and aren't, because I think
Yeah.
there's some like misunderstanding about this. And so we'll drag the input here, drag the response here. And at this point, all I need is an API key. So I'm just going to grab my OpenAI API key right here. That's it. And so now this is a functioning AI app. I can
Okay.
verify the playground. I could do something like it's an agent, yeah. So it'd be like, "Sup, how are you?" And there you go. So this is actually talking to GPT-4o, but it's
Okay.
kind of useless because it's like, "Hey, what is the weather in Berlin today, right now?" And it's going to be like, "I have no idea." See, I don't have access to real-time weather data.
Okay.
And this is where we need an agent, because ultimately an agent, Nick, is an entity that is able to take action on behalf of either itself or another, right? And it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a machine. It doesn't have to be AI. Like an organic intelligence agent, aka a human agent, is just like your travel agent. You call and you're like, "Hey, book me a flight," and they'll take this action on your behalf. They'll do it. That's literally what an agent is. Um, and so this thing obviously can't take action to get weather data, but we can fix that through the use of tools. And so we'll get like a URL, and so we'll just take this URL thing, and we'll turn on tool mode right here. Um, and now I just give this tool here, and I can even use natural language to tell the agent how to use my tool. So I'm going to say just use fetch
Okay.
content text, and I'm going to be like, use this tool to get the latest weather information from the internet.
Okay.
And I can say like, prefer BBC weather. I just prefer that source. And so I'll leave it at that, go back to the playground, and I'm literally just going to copy and paste this prompt in a new conversation.
Okay.
And suddenly, this thing is like, here, the current weather in Berlin is sunny with a temperature of Celsius and Fahrenheit. And it just got
Okay.
that because it literally went to BBC weather, as you can see, and
Yeah.
did the thing. And so we just built an agent. And the cool thing is we can now expose this agent in multiple ways. We could do it over an API where you just get
Okay.
like the URL. So anytime you fetch this from JavaScript or Python or curl, and you just get this endpoint. This is obviously localhost, but you can host this
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
So anytime you call this endpoint, you're going to get this response. You're going to invoke the agent.
Okay.
Or we can expose this whole thing as an MCP server and just add it to any MCP client, and it will just work. Uh, like in whatever amount of time that was, we just built an agent, and that's
Okay.
kind of the gist of Langflow. I'll pause. I have a lot of cool agents we can build, but I'd pause here to just kind of let you respond to that.
Yeah, yeah. One, that was very fast to build that. uh, like, like I would say that was very trivial to just build. I mean, I know you give demos all the time, but like still, that was pretty straightforward. And I think the visual aspect of it is important because, like, even as a dev, like it's a lot. It's just easy to connect things, and then you get an endpoint and stuff. And I'm curious, I guess, who who is Langflow catered to? Is it really for the any user? Because like I could picture, you know, the power users in businesses who aren't necessarily developers. I feel like this is something that they could just pick up and, it maybe they don't use the API because that's not how they would use it normally, but you can expose it other ways, like you were saying. So you could just basically, like, I guess that playground, which was the chat, could you
Yeah.
expose that as a
Yeah,
URL that they can go to? Okay.
you can embed Playground anywhere. Exactly.
Okay. No, that's super cool. That's super cool. And I didn't realize I knew that you could self-host it. I thought there was a cloud offering, but or is that no longer the case? I was reading the README just before the live stream.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There is a cloud offering. It's not monetized,
okay.
anyway. So like you can try it out, but honestly, um, you're better off running it yourself.
Okay.
For various reasons. Like you don't. These are AI workloads that are going to be maybe sensitive, and do you want to share that data with an external vendor, et cetera, right? So,
Yeah,
and I'm an
exactly.
open source person first and foremost. So like this is my bias.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely pro open source too. Like even Pomerium, it's open core, and like the majority of Pomerium you can use in the open source version, including the MCP stuff. So like I'm definitely pro that. And I don't know, I've been working professionally in open source since 2020, like at Dev2, then Netlify, then open source, and now Pomerium. So it's like, I don't know about you, but like if I can stay in the open source space as long as possible, I'm definitely gonna do it.
Yeah.
I love being in the open. I know you've been doing a lot of content creation and you've been in the public space for a while, and I'm super comfortable like live streaming and live coding, but I do understand people's like, because I've had guests on sometimes, not on this live stream, but on my own stream, where they're like, is it okay if we don't live code? Because like there's like they're genuinely nervous about it.
Yeah.
And I get it. I think I just kind of I find this is for contributing to open source as well. Like I remember the first time I contributed to open source back in 2015, and I was working at a Microsoft shop at that point. So like we weren't even using Git. We were using something called Team Foundation Server from Microsoft. So not only was I about to contribute to open source, I didn't know Git. So like I was, I think I deleted the repo, copied my changes, pasted it back in after I pulled it down again. I can't remember what I did, but it wasn't like the best first experience, but tore the band-aid off. And then I think if you can get past the, oh no, everybody's looking at my code, which they probably aren't, but like even if they are, you just kind of just, if you can let that go, I think you're golden,
I don't
Uh,
understand. Oh no, everybody's looking at my code because like, wouldn't you want people looking at your code? I mean, it's beautiful. Like what's there to if you do it professionally,
yeah.
then like if someone's paying you to do it, it inherently means it's valuable. So then why
Yeah.
would you know?
I think maybe that sentiment from some people is like maybe they're just starting off, and it's like, because like obviously you get better throughout your career as well. Like if I looked at my 2015 PR, which was actually, it was Meteor JS. I don't know if you ever did Meteor JS, but you know, it was like probably okay, but like if I were to look at it now, I'd like, no, why did I do that? You know, but that's just experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just people just generally nervous about like people are gonna think their code's terrible. But you honestly, like I've worked in closed source places and seen some stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but that's cool that it's open source and that you can self-host. This is like I already self-host some stuff because like Premiere, I use it as like my home lab. So I've got I secured my router and I've got like just a few other things. I've got like open web UI running on my local, and so I'm gonna just wire this up because it's just a Docker container. I can just add it to my compose.yaml.
Exactly.
In terms of like the usage you've seen, because you've been with DataStax for I think at least
Year and
a
a half.
year and a half. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So pretty much the same time as you started the podcast. Cool. Um, like I guess you're obviously really focused on the DX and the feedback. Are there things you still want to improve in the product, or are there some things that you have that you want to talk about, like maybe that like, oh, this was terrible initially but now we've got like a really great flow, or
I mean, in the beginning, just the UI of it was terrible. Um,
okay,
so bad. We poured a lot of time and money and resources into making, and you saw it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful UI. It's well polished. We love it. We love the UI
yeah,
internally. There's a lot to be desired, I would say, for performance, because like
okay,
AI is so non-deterministic, man. Like you can't even ChatGPT, like no AI application and platform today can like box in the full response time of a model. You know,
oh yeah, totally,
you can reduce time to first token, but like time to complete corpus of text, you never know, right? Because the
yeah,
user can ask for an essay or could ask for a word. And so I think we can do better in performance. I think also we can do better in documentation. I think
okay,
that's something that I feel strongly about. And we can do better in terms of like observability and reliability. Like sometimes I encounter bugs and they're very hard to reproduce, which is
yeah,
like the worst kind of bugs, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
why is this so hard to reproduce? And so I think those are my three.
okay,
But it's the cool thing is software is always iterative, and open source software more so. Like the whole world can literally come help us fix things.
yeah,
Um,
totally,
and we're thankful. We have a community. We have a Discord. It's quite active. Um, I want to show you another demo.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, let's go for it.
because like this is the cool part about Lang. I'm really into this. Where
Okay,
here, let me just show you. I'm gonna share my screen, and
all
like
right,
man, this is so awesome. So
uh,
we already built this agent, um,
yeah,
as we're seeing, but I want to make it personal.
okay,
Um, and I really struggle to like stay on top of my calendar. Like sometimes like there's just a lot going on usually. Like this is my calendar
yeah,
now, but honestly, this is like a subset of my calendar. This is usually way more. And
okay,
so let's say tomorrow at 1 p.m. maybe I'm doing something, maybe I'm not. So what I would love is like my own personal like Jarvis style like assistant to help manage my calendar.
okay,
And so I can just do that. Like this is wild. I can just go here and add Google Calendar as a
okay,
tool, uh, and we integrate with we integrate with many tools. This is Composio. I don't know if you've had Composio on, but man, Composio is like such an incredible product in the AI space. I know the
um,
founders, Karan and so on. They're wonderful guys, and it's just truly like a remarkable product. And so because what it is, it's like an integration layer between any app and any OAuth provider. So Google, Jira, GitHub, Slack,
okay,
and so I've pasted my Composio API key here. I'm going to turn this Google Calendar thing into a tool and just like boom, just give it this. But
okay,
before I run it, I can select like what can this tool actually do? Well, I want it to be able to create events. I want it to be able to find free slots, maybe find events, get my calendar, get the current date and time, list calendars, quick add event.
okay,
So I can choose like what do I want it to do, and that's it there. And this is so cool because I can ask like, let's do a new one. Anything interesting on my calendar? I could say like what meeting. I love this, by the way. This is a great hack. My mornings are booked for focus work, so I could even do like what meetings do I have today, right? And
Yeah.
the agent is now literally just going to look at this. It's like getting my stuff. Oof, you see that? It's like, here, this is your meetings for today, and this is actually true. Like, these are my things.
Yeah.
Um, Incredible. But because Langflow is an MCP server, you see where I'm going with, man, this is
Yeah. Yeah.
actually like how I live my life. So if I edit actions, I can change the name of this to be like Google Assistant, or like, manage Google Calendar or something.
Hmm.
And this description is how an MCP client knows to call this tool. So I'd be like, use this tool to manage my Google Calendar. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll save this by closing it. And just like that, it gives me the command. And as you mentioned, it's using this proxy, right?
Yeah.
And so this would work with a hosted one or with a local one. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to copy this
Okay.
and then open my MCP client. You see where I'm going with this, Nick? This is insane. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be any MCP client. This could be like ChatGPT when it supports MCP. This could be whatever you want. Any AI
Yeah.
app. This could be Cursor. This could be whatever. And that's someone's API key. That's not. So there's some feedback. Our copy button doesn't seem to work, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, Langflow team, if you're watching, it's open source. I can actually go fix it myself. But let's copy this.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
wow.
So this is the classic MCP server JSON snippet.
Yeah, if it'll let me copy it. Bro, this is so embarrassing. Let's maybe copy up to here. Can I? The moment I press command, it gets unfocused. Interesting. Okay, so
Okay.
I paste that, and now I go back to Claude, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the installation process for MCP servers should get a lot better. It will. And so anyway, so now I've added this. Check it out. I have my manage Google Calendar tool.
Yeah.
And like, Nick, this is wild. Watch this. This is actually my calendar right here. And I could be like, book me a feedback meeting for tomorrow at 2 p.m. No, like Berlin time, about Langflow, I guess.
Yeah.
Send it. And like, I can just do this now. Like, I don't have to, man, this is wild, allow. And so I don't have
Yeah.
to like use the web anymore, And
Yeah.
because it should appear. There you go. Look at that. Did you see that appear? That's wild.
Boom.
Totally appeared. And
Yeah.
I mean, I would much rather chat with an agent. Let's see if I can invite Nikki at datastacks.com. I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. This is just me. Wow.
I
No
feel like
way.
it will.
No way. That's incredible. I didn't plan for this, but now I'm just interested.
That's cool. I love the live demo encoding.
Yeah, me too, man. The cool thing is it's open source. Oh, okay. It added a second meeting. Well,
Okay, yeah, maybe I guess you could have said to the existing one maybe, but yeah, but regardless, that's very cool.
yeah. Anyway, so the cool thing about this is like I don't have to look at this UI, right? Like the smaller my screen gets, the worse it is to use. And
Yeah.
as web developers, we make like all kinds of decisions that affect literally the world. And sometimes these decisions are not good. Like we do like carousels and like weird inaccessible UI elements. Like if I press tab on this page, like all kinds of things happen, and it's just so complicated. And I can bypass all of that by just chatting with an agent. Are you kidding me? This is like 10 times better than any UX ever.
Oh,
Um,
no, totally.
and so now all that's left for me to do to actually turn this into like my actual reliable Jarvis assistant that I can use anywhere, even from my phone if I'm on the go, is just
Yeah.
host this. And guess what? We have a YouTube channel with how to host Langflow literally anywhere. Uh,
Okay.
and you'll get like HTTPS, you get an endpoint. It's just ready, and it just like
Yeah.
works. Um,
No, that was super cool. I like how you dropped the Kenzie Dodge Jarvis. I know you had him on the podcast recently, and I actually saw him at the MCP Dev Summit, and because he gave that talk. But it's true, and this ties into so many things because I gave a talk at All Things Open AI in March.
mm,
Not about this, but it was about GitHub Copilot extensions. But I got to catch Rachel Lee Neighbors talk about the death of the browser, which is kind
Yeah,
of what you're alluding to here. Or UI is definitely changing, for
yeah.
sure. So
I think we don't need browsers anymore. Uh,
yeah,
Personally, I use a browser like 20% of the time I used to.
yeah. No, it's interesting too. At the AI World Fair, my buddy Nick Nisi and his coworker gave a workshop, and uh, they had a MCP for buying a T-shirt off their shop at WorkOS. So I was able to just order a shirt through there, and like
How did it get
it.
your credit card information?
Well, the T-shirt was free, so like basically this was
Wow.
linked up to Claude, so it knew my email at least, and then it just asked for some basic information like my address and stuff. But I could foresee, like, even obviously once you get into money and stuff, that's where things get, people are skeptical, but at the same time, and I think Kent talked about this in his talk, and he might have talked about it on your podcast as well. I'm probably mixing the two, but you know, going to a bank machine, sticking in a card, and just like, or going on the internet and putting in your credit card information, like we don't even blink twice about that now. And like I've got one password, it's usually auto filling it, like you're not even questioning it. So I think it's just a question of adapting, and then it'll become acceptable at some point. Whenever that is, I don't know, but I feel like it might happen pretty quickly.
Mm,
But this ties into the whole security aspect that I was kind of mentioning before too. Like
yeah.
it's it's a lot different, because it's one thing to say like I'm submitting my credit card info to the DataStax website, where you know there's PII and there's like things in place and you have to be certified. Now it's like, okay, sent my credit card info. How can I guarantee that something in AI land didn't slurp it up? And it's, like, because agents can talk to other agents, and this gets back to your point about it. One, it's non-deterministic, but also like we don't know what it's gonna do. Like we put in guardrails and stuff, and like this kind of ties into maybe like prompt poisoning and stuff too. But like it's just it's not the same thing as saying like how to stop SQL injection or how to prevent cross-site scripting. Those things are like we know how to do that.
Yeah.
This it's like we literally don't know what people are gonna coerce the agents to do, and like I think it's just an interesting time, and like I don't know. It's I'm curious to see how people tackle it.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think we won't need browsers anymore in the future?
Well, there's a couple of things there. I feel like it's definitely gonna morph. Like I don't have like an Alexa or anything at home,
Yeah.
but I can totally see myself using, whether it's a unified chat interface or even speech. Like I've used like the Chat GPT speech feature. It makes sense that you're gonna kind of talk to like a Jarvis or like an older show like the Jetsons, like this cartoon where you would talk, and like it makes sense that things are going to get automated. And I think the UX is really probably voice and like minimal typing,
Yeah.
and it's definitely going to change. Like, there's already browsers out there like Dia, which from the people that created Arc, it's still a browser, but like it's kind of tying into it's trying to be all AI and stuff. But I don't know if like making a browser all AI is the solution. It's more kind of what you were showing, or like you're just like speaking to my watch or like my phone. It makes sense, and
Yeah.
especially with something like this, if you're hosting it yourself, it's like I don't know. It's just cool times, and it's kind of a side tangent, but I kind of purposely got out of front end because I'm very aware that I'll say it this way. I love front end, but I I don't know. I think it's getting commoditized quicker than other parts of the stack. I don't know if you agree on that or not, but uh, and it's not to say that the the don't that role is going to disappear, but I think it's going to be people that are like designers who can code, that can leverage AI, that are probably going to be the winners there. And not to say that I think I'm a pretty decent front end developer, but like I can take designs, but I'm that same person that takes 2 weeks to figure out which fonts to put on my website. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, so I don't know. I think it's still a useful skill, but I just feel like it's getting commoditized so quickly. Like I vibe code UI all the time, and like I obviously am critical of it, you know, like, but I move so much faster by doing that, you know. So it's, I don't know. It's just interesting times, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but no, but that's super cool. So I guess like in terms of Langflow, are you seeing people starting to kind of make their own Jarvises, or like what do you know, like obviously there's all kinds of people using it, but like your use case makes complete sense to me. Like
Yeah,
bring in my calendar, bring in anything that I can just do. I think one thing that you didn't mention it, but this is the thing is like this is UX in general. I think if you don't have to take people out of the context of what they're doing, all the better. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I have to do this thing. Oh, I got to open up another page to set that
yeah,
thing, then come back, you know? And like, I think that's just a general like user experience thing. And by staying in the Jarvis or whatever you want to call it, I think that's why this is sticking, I think.
yeah. Like we have never wanted to do anything ourselves. I think
Yeah.
like just as a human condition, like I always like, bro. I honestly, Nick, I hate browsing the web. Like I live in Europe, which makes the experience is like even worse. If we open literally any website, everything we see is going to show everything we want to see is going to show up for like 1 second, and then it's going to be filled with cookie banners and a bunch of nonsense that I don't care about.
Yeah.
um, Travel websites are the worst, right? Because like the whole you enter your from, your to, your dates, um, pick a flight, and then like just before you're about to pay and confirm your booking, it's like, do you want to buy insurance with that? And you're like, oh man, like why just let me. And honestly, I would much rather, and this is something I love at DataStax, is we actually have a
Mhm.
travel agency that I have access to. So I don't,
Okay.
when I travel for work, I just send an email to literally an agent, and I say like, hi, I need to be in New York no later than 12 p.m. on Wednesday. Uh,
Okay.
Make it happen, and it does. And
Okay.
wow, that's so much better than everything that would involve touching the web, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so I think this is what we've always wanted. We've always wanted that. So it's just there was never really this ready access to assistants like that. In fact, like if you look at all the C-suite at companies, like founders and executives and whatever, they usually have executive assistants that do exactly this kind of stuff. And the cool thing that I love about AI is everybody gets an executive assistant today, which
Yeah.
is tremendous.
Yeah. No, it's super cool, and it's, I don't know, it just makes sense. And I don't like the travel agent thing is, you know, like you said, just get me there for 12 p.m. on Wednesday. And then there's like, if you have a preferred carrier, like I'm in Canada, I generally fly Air Canada. You know, these are just preferences, you know, and then it's like, okay, oh, and Nick likes the aisle seat or he likes the window seat, you know, and all those, they're gonna have all that context. And it's, yeah, I just think it just makes sense. It's, I guess it comes back to the narrative, which I think is kind of just fear mongering that like, oh, we're all gonna lose our jobs. I know that's not the case.
Yeah,
It's just we're gonna be able to do better work, you
yeah,
know, and it's, I know it's not, I think it's slightly different because AI is just moving faster, but it's the same thing as like the industrial revolution. All these people that were, I forget what you call somebody that drives a horse and buggy, but like, you know, Henry T. Ford's like, hey, I got cars here now. They're like, what about our jobs? And then like, okay, the horse and buggy disappeared, but all of a sudden, taxi drivers, limo drivers, you know, like things
Uber
evolved.
drivers. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You know, so I think it's the same thing again. It's just happening at a very accelerated rate, and maybe that's why people are scared. But at the same time, like to be frank, jobs will be lost, but it's the stuff that, like, if this thing can be automated, it's gonna disappear. So, like, I think it's just a question of, you just have to evolve with the times. Um, so
Yeah, it's interesting because so one of my dear friends is Colonel Jim Brown in the U.S. Army, and he's
okay.
literally like a U.S. Army colonel. Like he received a Purple Heart pinned on him by the great Barack Obama. Like he's an actual hero,
Yeah.
and I love him to bits. And he and I talk often, and he tells me stories about his time in Afghanistan. And um, he's like, the only time I've reliably lost soldiers was not when the enemy did anything different. It's just when they themselves were afraid. And it's their
Yeah.
own fear that, like, he's like 9 out of 10 times when a soldier dies in a war, it's because their own fear gets them. The enemy doesn't do anything special. And I
Yeah.
think that tracks so much here, because like you can either feel scared that you're going to lose your job, or you can like take action and use Langflow and similar tools and just build with AI, find the
Yeah.
limits, and then remedy those limits. That's literally what I'm doing, right? Like I have
Yeah.
been dealing with AI long enough to where I know where the holes are. Holes, for example, in auth. Like, cool,
Hmm.
MCP supports auth, that doesn't solve much. Then there's so much more to do there.
Yeah.
Similarly with accuracy, the whole topic about RAG, agentic RAG, graph RAG. I'm building an app on the side where it's an AI app. It's a beautiful app. I love this app. I've been using this app where
Okay.
you just journal. You just like write dear diary, right? And every day you get a blank canvas and you just like dump your thoughts throughout the day in this thing.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you get a notification, um, an update to your summary is ready, and you tap on that and you get like, I can just show you. You get like a full score of how you're doing, your mood, your state.
Okay.
It's so wonderful for me. And so um, and this is kind of my, I'm
Okay. Yeah.
greedy,
Yeah.
which is good. And so, and then there's a social aspect. You can add friends and you can see who's green, who's red, who can I encourage. This needs retrieval,
Mhm.
information retrieval, but plain old vector search with cosine similarity isn't enough, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get like 50 candidates. You've got to pass them to a re-ranker. You've got to then add some like human bias. There's so much there that constitutes a full-time job in data
Yeah.
retrieval accuracy. And so you can either be afraid that the big scary machine is going to take your job, or you can take action and
Hmm.
learn. Similar to the Henry Ford example, you can sit there and be scared and complain about this new thing called the car, or you could be like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm going to learn how to drive this thing, and maybe even maintain, maybe even build one, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think you only get so far just being angry and afraid. You get further just doing something, like taking action.
Yeah. No, for sure. And the other thing too is I think just vibe coding's got kind of memey, but like I think Andrew Karpathy is like he meant it in the
Andre.
sense that, like, Andre, sorry, thank you for the correction. Andre is like, he meant it in the sense, I know what I'm doing. This is just me like building. But
Yeah,
like, uh, but I think it just opens up so many opportunities for people that who aren't developers. Like, people can literally go to like V0 or Bolt.new, Lovable, whatever, and just bring something to life. Maybe it's not the most perfect thing, but they can do that now. And then, like, maybe it's good enough, or maybe it gets to a place where like some founders like, this is what I built. I need a dev now to just, like, let's clean it up. But and that's something that really wasn't possible before. And
yeah,
like, it's just kind of neat because anybody with an imagination can just, hey, let me try building this. Or like, it kind of, it democratizes things to some degree. I mean, I know there's an expense to paying for these services, but I still think it kind of levels the playing ground slightly. Like, it's it's not, it's definitely good for proof of concepts, but in some cases maybe it's good enough too. So it's interesting times.
yeah. I think where we undervalue tools like Level, I'm curious to hear if you have a favorite. I do think Lovable is the best of all of them so far. But
Yeah.
my friend Daniel is
Okay.
a he's a architect. Like he builds buildings. like he literally did the BIM, building infrastructure management, for the Meta campus in Palo Alto. um,
Okay.
and he doesn't know how to code, but he likes building, and
Yeah.
so I talk to him every Tuesday. We have a call every Tuesday, and he shows me. He's like, "Look, I built this entire product end to end with Lovable. Look, it totally worked." And he's got the spark in his eyes that I had when I was making like shiny penguins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bro, that's invaluable, because this, like for me, 15, 20 years after shiny penguins, I'm here. And I think for a
Yeah.
lot of people, 15, 20 years after whatever they create on Lovable or Bolt or whatever it is, will be at a place that is fundamentally different to where they would be without it. That's hugely valuable. And so I think
Yeah.
I hear a lot of developers talking smack about these platforms, but that's because they're developer. I myself would talk smack about them, because for me
Yeah.
it's easier to just build something with the tools that I know how to use, like code. You know,
Yeah.
but it's so awesome that the arena is larger now, and there's even more ways now to come to a complete product in business, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have a
No,
do you have a
totally.
favorite between these tools?
Uh, I actually haven't used Lovable yet. I've mainly used V0 and Bolt, and I seem to prefer Bolt right now. I think V0 is great, but I think it skews more towards Next.js, obviously, because that's what they
And
obviously
Shad
build.
C.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Shad CN. Like I definitely use that all the time, but yeah, I made some cool stuff in Bolt. Like even like when I first started at Pomerium, because I'm a developer advocate over here. I needed to do this video short explaining zero trust security, and we do have somebody on retainer to create assets and stuff, but like I kind of wanted to get this out like in an hour or two. So I actually just asked Bolt. I said like, can you create an animation of like somebody going through the airport, because I was using the analogy of airport security, and you ended up using Three.js with kind of like not characters without faces, but like that typical like round body, almost like the not Lego people, but there's another type of toy I had as a kid. I can't remember what it was called. But anyways, it was basically a website, but it basically showed somebody walking. It would say accepted, rejected. It showed like a passport and stuff. And, it was good enough. And then I basically took that website and I used it as like part of the video, and like that that got me something out there really quickly. And maybe that's not the use case for everybody, but I just found like, hey, it worked, and it looked pretty good actually. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, I still have to dig into Lovable. I'm curious. What do you love about Lovable? Not to sound punny there, but
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, and this is actually, so a lot of people ask me about like, hey, Langflow is cool, but like, what about N8N? It's like everyone asks me that, because
yeah.
N8N it's a great product. It's very similar to Langflow. It's a visual workflow builder.
Hmm.
And my answer to the N8N versus Langflow question is very similar to what I love about Lovable compared to others. And that is, Langflow was some random independent project that was
Okay.
created by Rodrigo and Gabriel, and it's just like some Brazilian guys being like, you know what we should do? We should make a cool visual AI builder, and it started as an AI first. Like there was nothing
Okay.
before. It was just like an AI from the ground up, unaffiliated with anyone. It was just guys building cool stuff, and then DataStax acquired them. Um,
Okay.
and so what is the landscape of similar app builders? Well, we have Bolt, which is from a bigger company, right, called
Yeah.
Stack Blitz. We have V0, which is bolted on, pun intended, to a bigger company like Vercel. Um,
Yeah.
we have all of these, and then Lovable is just two young guys in Sweden who are like, let's make something like V0, you know,
Yeah.
a completely out of left field, completely unaffiliated with any company, just two random Swedes who are young. They're like children. They're like 20 or something. They're little babies,
Okay.
and they're just like, we want to build this, and they have like, this is maybe not healthy, but they have no work life balance at all. They're just like constantly building, and they're constantly hustling, and they you can tell that they care so much for Lovable. It's like they love it, pun intended again.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
think that's just a beautiful thing to me. It's just to see these like young awesome entrepreneurs like unaffiliated by everything else, build from the ground up an AI first product. Um, that's beautiful, you know, and I love, and also
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased because it's European, and
Okay.
I think Europe is way behind the United States and the United Kingdom and China. It's like last place, right? Um,
Hmm.
but every now and again, something great happens in Europe against all the bureaucratic nonsense odds, and I can't help but like celebrate that twice as much as every Bolt or V0, because in America that's just common, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
and
Yeah.
and
There's.
that's not even including like the fact that it's just a really great product. They recently shipped a newer version where they produce great code and it just works. Like you can one shot a lot of things, and
Mhm.
they have an in place TypeScript editor, and it's probably the best
Okay.
web-based IDE I've ever used. Like it's not just like let's take Monaco editor and like change it a bit and put it somewhere, but it's really like well thought through their in place editing.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, is it just Monaco? But it is kind of funny how that's kind of become the de facto, like, whether it's what's that name's escaping me. What's the one? It's a European company, the
Django?
Playground. No, it's a web-based product, sandbox.io, or
Code
uh,
Sandbox. Yeah.
Code Sandbox. Sorry, it's been a minute I've been on there, but like, yeah, it seems to be used everywhere. I mean, it's a pretty mature editor, obviously. That's why, probably,
That's also a
but yeah,
Monaco fork.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's interesting times for sure. And you were mentioning something, how like people, like developers, might not like something like Lovable or whatever, but it's exactly your point, where you said it's not the tools you use normally, but like, uh I think if you can get past that, because like it's like, I'm thinking of like kids today, like my kids aren't going to be in VS Code, or maybe they will, but like, you know, AI editor, like just drag and drop stuff. I haven't used it, but like Replit has like a mobile experience to build apps. Like that's like bananas to me. Like people shipping apps from their phone, it's
Yeah.
like, but and like me, as somebody who's been doing web dev for a long time, I'd be like, oh, that's clunky. Like I don't know how I could do that. But it's because that's the norm. This is what people first encounter in some cases, I guess, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's just, I don't know. It's just interesting, all the touch points where you can actually build something now, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about like how you feel about this, but I'm just so excited to see what's gonna come out of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a great time to be alive and a great time to be in tech.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And it's like, people say like, oh, everything's so complex now, or at least I don't know, like, coming from doing a lot of front end, people say, oh, it's all complex and stuff. And sure, there's complexities maybe, but it's such an amazing experience now to be a developer right now. It's like, I I guess the only thing that concerns me to some degree is like, we both have a lot of experience, so like we're able to leverage these tools. But somebody who's brand new to the field, or like a career changer, leveraging AI, I think is still a good thing. But I still struggle with like, how are people gonna learn and still leverage AI? Because like, it's very easy to just say, let AI do everything.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff I learned, like I can like hand code HTML with my eyes closed, but like somebody who's never done JSX, they might just use the AI as a crutch. And I'm just curious about, just, and it's not even in programming, it's just learning or education in general, because you need to use these tools. But how do you also get that, like, my brain hurts, oh, I finally get it, you know? And that's something I'm curious about in general, like how that's gonna play out. But
Yeah. I think it's interesting you say that because I think that's something we'll never experience. You and I.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'm sure people will get it sorted out, but or maybe they'll just say like, you know what, I'm good, I've got a Jarvis. So
Yeah.
cool, cool. Well, I guess that's a good place to kind of wrap things up here, I guess. Just want to say thanks, Tejas. Like I said, I know you got a lot on the go, so I really do appreciate you taking the time to just hang with me. It was awesome. And all the links are shared in. It'll be on the YouTube channel. That's where the recording will live. So definitely check out Tejas's website. Check out Langflow. If you haven't subscribed to the Contagious podcast yet, Contagious Code podcast, I highly recommend it. I just listened to the episode with Dev, who's a mutual friend of ours. Dev's pretty awesome, and it was a great episode. So
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much for putting this together, man. It's very clear that you put a lot of care into it. The questions you have are tremendous, and even the research you've done. It's been so far from the average run-of-the-mill discussion, and I really enjoyed it. And I think you're creating a really valuable resource here for many people. So thank you.
cool. Well, thanks, man. With that, Tejas, if you don't mind staying on for just a minute, and everybody else, today is an AI doubleheader, so I'm going to be hanging in with my old coworker Sean Roberts in about an hour. We're going to be digging into AX and MCPs and all the fun stuff they've been doing over at Netlify. So definitely check that out, but don't forget to hydrate or eat something in between. And we'll see you in the next one. And yeah, Tejas, just if you don't mind staying on for a sec. Take care, everybody.